Before the lights come on, before the crowd rises, before a single note is heard, there is one name that has shaped modern talent television more than any other. Simon Cowell. A man known across the world for his sharp honesty, his unfiltered reactions, and his ability to recognize greatness in seconds. For decades, Simon Cowell has stood at the center of the music industry, not just judging talent, but defining it. He has watched thousands of singers step onto the stage with big dreams and shaking hands. He has seen confidence crumble and stars rise. When Simon Cowell leans forward, when his expression changes, when his voice softens instead of sharpens, the world knows something special is happening. Tonight's story is one of those rare moments. A moment when even Simon Cowell was left in awe. The X Factor UK stage has always been a place of pressure. Bright lights, loud crowds, judges who have heard it all before. For most contestants, walking onto that stage feels like stepping into another universe. Your heart beats faster. Your mouth goes dry. Every step feels heavier than the last. The audience is watching, the judges are waiting, and millions at home are ready to decide whether you matter. For Talia, this was not just a performance. This was her moment to be heard. She didn't walk out with arrogance. She didn't rely on flashy confidence. There was something quiet about her presence, something calm but determined. The kind of energy that doesn't beg for attention, but earns it. As she stood there, microphone in hand, you could sense the weight of her journey. Years of singing when no one was listening. Nights of doubt. Moments of wondering if her voice would ever be enough. The X Factor stage has a way of revealing truth, and Talia was about to reveal hers. The music began softly. No dramatic build-up. No unnecessary effects. Just a voice meeting silence. And then she sang. From the very first note, the room changed. It wasn't just about pitch or power. It was about feeling. Her voice carried a depth that felt lived in, as if every word had a memory attached to it. The audience leaned in without realizing it. Conversations stopped. Breaths were held. This wasn't a performance you listened to casually. This was a performance that demanded attention. Talia's voice moved effortlessly between strength and vulnerability. One moment it was gentle, almost fragile, and the next it rose with control and emotion that filled the entire space. She didn't oversing. She didn't show off. She trusted her voice to do what it was meant to do. And that trust made all the difference. As the song continued, the judges' expressions began to change. This is always the most telling part of any audition. Before the applause, before the comments, before the verdict, there is that silent moment when the judges realize they are witnessing something rare. Simon Cowell sat back at first, listening carefully. Then slowly, almost unconsciously, he leaned forward. His face, usually guarded, softened. His eyes followed every note, every breath, every emotional shift. This is important, because Simon Cowell is not easily impressed. He has built his reputation on honesty, sometimes brutal honesty. He has stopped performances mid-song when they weren't good enough. He has delivered criticism that ended dreams. When someone like Simon listens in silence, fully engaged, it means the performance has crossed a line from good to extraordinary. Talia reached the emotional core of the song. You could hear it in her tone. This wasn't just singing. This was storytelling through sound. Her voice carried pain, hope, resilience, and belief all at once. The audience began reacting before the song even ended. Soft gasps, murmurs, people realizing they were witnessing something unforgettable. By the final note, the room was completely still. There is a specific kind of silence that only happens after a truly powerful performance. It's not awkward. It's respectful. It's the kind of silence that says everyone is processing what they just felt. And then, like a wave crashing onto shore, the applause erupted. The audience stood. Not slowly. Not politely. Instantly. A standing ovation that came from instinct, not obligation. People clapped, cheered, shouted her name. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Talia stood there, almost stunned, her hands trembling slightly, absorbing the moment she had dreamed of for so long. Then came the judges' reactions. One by one, they spoke about her tone, her control, her emotional connection. They praised her authenticity. They acknowledged that her voice didn't sound manufactured or rehearsed, but real. Honest. Alive. And then Simon Cowell spoke. When Simon Cowell delivers praise, it carries weight. He doesn't exaggerate. He doesn't flatter. His words are chosen carefully. He spoke about how rare it is to hear a voice that feels timeless. A voice that doesn't chase trends, but stands above them. He explained that what Talia had was not just talent, but something deeper. Something that cannot be taught. And then he said the words that changed everything. He told her that her voice was beyond world class. That statement alone placed her in a category very few ever reach. Beyond world class does not mean better than others. It means different. It means unforgettable. It means the kind of voice that can cross borders, languages, and generations. A voice that can fill arenas or quiet a room with a single note. You could see the emotion hit Talia all at once. Her eyes filled with tears. She smiled, not out of pride, but relief. Relief that her voice had finally been heard. Relief that all the silent years had led to this moment. This is why moments like these matter. X Factor is not just about winning a competition. It's about discovery. It's about that exact second when potential becomes visible to the world. When someone steps out of anonymity and into possibility. Simon Cowell has been part of countless success stories. He has helped launch careers that shaped pop music, global tours, and chart-topping albums. But even for him, moments like Talia's performance stand out. Because they remind everyone, including the judges, why music matters in the first place. Music is not about perfection. It's about connection. And Talia connected. As the show moved on, social media exploded. Clips of her performance spread across platforms. Comments poured in from around the world. People who had never heard of her before were suddenly invested. They replayed her performance. They shared it with friends. They talked about how her voice made them feel something they hadn't expected. That is the true mark of an artist. Not how loud the applause is in the room, but how long the echo lasts after the sound fades. For Talia, this audition was not the end of her journey. It was the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter filled with opportunity, pressure, growth, and belief. The kind of chapter that only opens when preparation meets courage. And for Simon Cowell, it was another reminder that no matter how many auditions he hears, no matter how many stages he sits behind, there will always be voices that surprise him. Voices that cut through the noise. Voices that remind him why he started this journey in the first place. In a world full of singers, Talia didn't just sing. She spoke. She told a story without words. She reminded millions that sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one song, one chance to change everything. And that is why this performance will be remembered. Because some voices are good, some voices are great, and some voices are beyond world class. After the applause faded and the lights dimmed, something invisible but powerful remained in the room. That feeling is difficult to describe, but everyone who has ever watched a truly special performance knows it. It is the feeling that you have just witnessed the beginning of something important. For Talia, walking off the stage did not feel like an ending. It felt like stepping into a future that suddenly seemed real. Backstage, the energy was different. Contestants often returned shaken, overwhelmed, or unsure of what just happened. Talia returned quiet, emotional, and thoughtful. Her hands still trembled slightly, not from fear anymore, but from the release of years of tension. When you carry a gift like that inside you for so long, finally sharing it can feel almost unreal. The judges continued talking even after she left the stage. That rarely happens. Usually, once a contestant exits, the focus shifts quickly to the next name. But Talia lingered in their minds. Simon Cowell mentioned how certain voices stay with you long after the sound is gone. He spoke about how he could already imagine her voice filling much larger spaces, not just studios or TV screens, but hearts. This is where Simon's experience matters most. He has heard voices with power, range, and polish. But what he listens for now is truth. Something authentic. Something that cannot be copied. And Talia had that in abundance. As the competition progressed, viewers began forming emotional connections with her. People didn't just admire her talent, they related to her presence. She represented every person who had ever been told they were too quiet, too different, or not loud enough to stand out. Her strength was not in volume, but in sincerity. Social media continued to amplify her moment. Reaction videos appeared within hours. Vocal coaches analyzed her tone and control. Music lovers commented on how her voice felt familiar yet completely unique. Some said it reminded them why they fell in love with music in the first place. Others said they hadn't felt chills like that in years. This is something talent shows hope for but cannot manufacture. You cannot script emotion. You cannot plan authenticity. When it happens on its own. Simon Cowell later reflected on moments like these as the reason he still sits at the judges' table after all these years. Fame fades. Formats change. But discovering raw, genuine talent never loses its magic. For him, Talia represented the reason the X Factor still mattered. As the live shows approached, pressure increased. Expectations grew. Once the world sees you as special, they want to see if you can rise again and again. This is often the hardest part for artists. The first performance comes from hunger. The next ones must come from belief. Talia approached this challenge with quiet determination. She didn't try to reinvent herself. She didn't chase trends. She stayed true to what made her voice resonate in the first place. Emotion first. Honesty always. Behind the scenes, mentors worked with her on technique and song choice, but the core of her sound remained untouched. Simon was careful about that. He understands that polishing a diamond should never mean reshaping it. He allowed her voice to breathe, to grow naturally, without forcing it into a commercial mold too early. This trust between artist and mentor is rare, but when it exists, it can be powerful. Simon believed that audiences don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with truth. And Talia's truth was clear every time she sang. Each performance built on the last. Confidence replaced nerves. Control deepened. Emotion sharpened. The audience didn't just listen anymore. They waited. They anticipated. They felt invested in her journey, as if her success meant something personal to them. This is how artists are born. Not overnight, not from one viral moment alone, but from consistency, courage, and connection. For young viewers watching at home, Talia became proof that you don't need to be the loudest in the room to be heard. You don't need to fit a stereotype to be powerful. Sometimes, the most extraordinary voices are the ones that simply tell the truth. Simon Cowell has said many times that music is about moments. Charts, sales, trophies all come later. But moments like Talia's audition are what last. Years from now, people may forget the results of that season, but they will remember the feeling of hearing her voice for the first time. And that is the legacy of a beyond world-class voice. It doesn't just impress. It doesn't just entertain. It stays. If you want, I can continue with part 3 and part 4 to build this into a much longer full documentary style script and reach your exact word target.